Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Behind the Small Business Podcast. My name is Kevin Dandino, and of course, this is always brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. If you're looking for any kind of insurance quote, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help take care of you and get you a quote. Today, I have an awesome guest, Averil Barmann, who is starting up a newer business in terms of bookkeeping and things like that. So a lot of finances. We'll get into some of that conversation, I'm sure. But Averil, thank you so much for joining me today. And how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
No, this is going to be a fun one. We were talking before the show here, and I was mentioning that you're our first new business owner on the podcast here. We've had a lot of people that have been well established and been a business owner for any number of years. So I think it's going to be really awesome to have your perspective of somebody who's going through it right now, just getting their startup and starting to look for clients and get things, where the rubber meets the road, if you will. So I'm excited to hear this, but let's backtrack a little bit and start with this. What got you into wanting to be a bookkeeper, wanting to get into finances, and from there saying, you know what, I want to start my own business doing this as well, and taking that extra jump, that extra leap of faith, So kind of how'd you get into all of it?
Well, I first started in the area of finance when I was in hotels. I've been in hotels for 16 years. I started at the desk clerk level, went all the way up to manager, proud owner of a branded hotel in a small town in Kansas. I then took my talents to being a regional director of operations for a small franchise called Cobblestone Hotels, which is really big in the Midwest right now and is expanding to other states. I was over 15 hotels and 5 states. And what my main position is to keep track of their finances. Training the general managers how to keep track of their finances on a daily basis. So I took care of all of the taxes, the daily income, the P&Ls, making sure those were looking good, balance sheets, making sure those were looking good, or if they weren't, advising them to look better in other places of operations. And I really enjoyed that because I'm a numbers person, I'm visual, and I like performance. Because that's what I was as a general manager, was performance. Everybody likes to be, have a good employee, but they want one that is an investment. And that's what employees are, is an investment. And so I wanted to do that for my investors and my community, is to, produce a high quality experience for people. And to do that, you have to be excellent performance, not just in, customer service, but the numbers as well for your investment group. So I was really into that. I loved it. The 15 properties was a lot to take care of. So I wanted to do that on my own. And I like to do it because my niche is hospitality for bookkeeping. But I also have a niche is making people feel that they're going to be successful. And that's another added value for me. Is it's just not numbers. It's just not categorizations, AP, AR, all of that, and just robotically give it to an owner or somebody that's representative of the company. Say, here you are, good luck, pay me. I'm not that way. I'm really into being part of the ownership, so say, of a business and guiding them, especially if they do not have any hospitality experience, because sometimes people have other niches that they've been successful at, and someone comes up and drives by a hotel or an empty building, restaurant, and say, let's make this go. And 5 of them have zero, God bless them, have zero hospitality experience. They think it's like more of the roofing business, construction business, banking business, or whatever business they're in. They think it's running the same way. Whole different monkey. It is a daily, you have to keep on it business, especially when you're over employees, you're over, food and beverages, you're over the housekeeping, the supplies, the vendors, all of the fixed expenses that you've got to keep track of and make sure you have the cash flow to cover it. So a lot of people say, I can do it. And then they get over their head and say, I have no idea what I'm doing. Could someone please help me? And that's where I come in. I'll come in and look at your books, see what kind of services you're wanting. I do operations consulting. I also do payroll. I do some tax filing, but that would be more of the quarterly taxes that I would go ahead and send into the state and, federally. And then I would hand it off to a certified public accountant, which they probably have. Most of them do, more on a consult basis. So That's what I would do. And, say, hey, let's visit. Let's plan a monthly 2-week. If you want to get on with me, I can show you what's going on, what looks good, what's not looking so good, especially if a business has been in business for a year. What's your year over year? What's it looking like?
Yeah.
It's looking it's looking like we're paying a little labor too much, where people are doing the time clock, or we're not doing inventory and we keep buying things. And it's like, why are we doing that when we don't have a occupancy to do it? If you're at 30%, why are we still buying inventory? Why are we still ordering towels or toilet paper or things like that that nobody's taking, keeping track of? Another thing, general managers in the hospitality industry, that's a whole different thing too. Sometimes we hire the wrong general managers because they're not experienced in that, and they struggle and they get frustrated and they get burned out. If we take that bookkeeping, accounting, all of that off their plate, they can be trained to do other things. And the first thing that gets neglected is sales. They won't go out and do sales because they're going to be tied into that desk. And that's where our meat and potatoes are,
Sure.
And that's what they'll say. I don't have any time because I've heard it and heard it and heard it. I've been in this for 16 years. Nothing has changed. I get it. I was there once myself when I first started. And then I learned time management and how to go out and do that, because you got to do that. If you don't do that, you're not going to make any money and you're going to suffer. And then people need to keep putting money into it, and then it becomes a disaster. So that's what I'm here for. I'm more of an advisory role. I also like to make sure that everything looks clean, looks presentable, especially if a business wants to get a loan, another loan of some sort. If it's an expansion, operation, anything like that, they're loan ready. And I have talked to financial advisors in the area about how they feel about bookkeeping. And they say they would love it, especially small business owners that are, under a year or 2 years. They're saying, okay, I need money. It's like, okay, why would you need money already? Plus, they give them records that are a mess.
Right.
I've talked to businesses that are 2 years behind in taxes, and payroll issues. They don't have the cash flow to make the payroll. I'll talk to you later. I got to beat the bank to get to the payroll. Yeah. Those are extreme ones, though, but they're out there and they're realistic, and I get it. I understand all of that. It happens, but having a clean set of books, loan ready, it's like, okay, Averil, we're gonna go to this XYZ bank, and we really need a updated P&L balance sheet. Can you help us out? Absolutely, I'll be right on it. I'll go over it with the ownership or whoever is a representative and say, here you go. Need anything else? Give me a shout. I'll be ready for you.
That's awesome. There's a lot there. And one of the first things that kind of stood out to me in your story, not just the amount of things that you do, which is fascinating. I'm not a numbers guy. So I look at math and I just go, not today. We're going to avoid that at all costs. But you have the hospitality experience to tie it in. You have, managing the multiple hotels, lots of things going on at once, and the drive to, or the understanding of, you got to treat the employees right. You got to invest in them. That's a huge piece of success when it comes to, making sure the guest, whether it's in a hotel or a restaurant or whatever, gets the best experience, right? Is the employees. So, kind of, would you say some of the key differences between, like the services you provide versus like QuickBooks? Because you see all those commercials of, this is a quick, easy tool that'll save up so much time. And so maybe, if somebody were to ask you, why would I go with you over QuickBooks? What are some of your, top answers there?
Well, I am a QuickBooks Pro advisor, so I do use QuickBooks. I've used QuickBooks ever since I've been a manager or in the management field. But setting it up correctly is a main thing, and you got to get it right the first time. I mean, you can do it, but it's a mess, and you have to go backwards to do that. Categorization is critical. What expense is going into what area? Especially another thing I see, though, Kevin, is people combining their personal and business expenses in one thing.
Really?
Oh, heck yeah. It's like, I use this credit card to go pick up some supplies at the hardware store that we needed for the hotel, but I put it on my credit card. It's like, thank you.
Why did you? So much more work has been created for me. Thank you. Yes,
it is, and it's so much common sense. But some people don't. You have your credit card on you. You have your business credit card. Use it, and then we got to. That's just one transaction. That we got to fix. So I put more human into it. I'm a more human side type of person. And that's what separates me from other bookkeepers, because there's a big discussion on LinkedIn I'm in right now. It's like, okay, we can do the transactions, we can pay the bills, we can do the taxes, but what kind of human side are we giving them?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a big discussion. And I've jumped into it, and it's like, wow, someone's really listening to what I have, what I'm seeing. So that made me really happy that other people are realizing that as well. As the world gets more complex, we need each other to help each other out, and a lot of times people think accountants and bookkeepers are just stuffy old people that sit behind a desk and are nasty and say, don't spend money,
Right.
Don't do this, don't do that. It's not true at all. Maybe in the past, but not now. Because most of us have owned a business or have ran a business or have overseen businesses that understand this.
Right. No, that makes sense. And it's kind of, you say, as things get more complicated, we need to rely on each other. And part of that is having somebody you trust in your corner, right? It's kind of like what we talk about with our insurance agency. If you go with one of the big guys and you call up an insurance agent, you don't know who's going to answer. You don't know where they are. You don't know who they are. They don't know you or your business from the next person that they're going to talk to after you. But with us, kind of like what you're saying, you have a dedicated insurance agent that when you have an issue, you have a problem, you need to file a claim, you know who you're calling. Exactly. And they know you. They know your business. They wrote your policy, right? So same exact thing for you of it's got to be nice to be a business owner and to not just know that, okay, well, I got my QuickBooks set up on my computer, or I have this accountant from this, financial firm or whatever.
Right.
But I know that I can call Averil and she is going to take care of me. She knows my business. She knows my expenses, and she's going to spend the time listening to me. And that is huge.
Yeah. It's just like any other service, you got to see where they're coming from. And that's one thing I do is a free 45-minute consultation to see, how long have you been in business? I have had some consultations with people that are pre-revenue, so they haven't even opened their business yet. And that's another thing, I can help with. I'm not all about money. Sometimes I just want to, get you set up and successful, and then we'll talk about that later,
Yeah. Perfect.
So, they tell me how many bank accounts, how many loans, how many transactions I'd be doing. Sometimes I would just be doing bank transactions, pretty simple. Others I might be getting into paying the bills, taking the payments, doing payroll, filing taxes, all of that. So there's the gamut is really wide.
I bet. Let me kind of take you down a different path here. I kind of want to hear your perspective, specifically on what has it been like for you going through setting up a new business recently? What are some of the struggles you face? Maybe some things that you didn't expect or, come to think that would be a problem, but ended up being something that you needed to spend more time on, things that you wish you had known before going into it.
Probably the networking part of that, the in-person networking. I used to do that when I was a manager, but I kind of fell out of that when I was in the regional role because I really didn't need to be networking. I just needed to be on top of running the businesses and making the investors money.
Sure.
So
That makes sense.
Networking, the time it takes to establish trust. You're not going to let anybody lose with your numbers or your bank accounts until you establish trust with them. Testimonials, testimonials are huge in this. And I am, on Google My Business, I have some reviews on there. So that's one thing, the time it will take, to get there. I'm attending networking meetings every week. I try to hit one every week. And what I'm seeing is I see some of the same faces. So I'm making connections that way. It's like, okay, I saw him there. And then making LinkedIn. Okay, I saw them there, and then he's connected to this, and this person's connected to this, so it's all fitting in. And then patience. This doesn't come. You've got to keep building relationships, trust, communication, and your reputation.
Yeah.
Character reputation, especially, So that's
world,
something, that's something that I have spent a lot of time on and concentrating on, because people want to do business with people they like. They do.
They like and they trust.
For sure. Even if, somebody down the street might be doing it for cheaper or medium higher, they don't like them, or they haven't had good, recommendations from other people, they're not going to do it, because there's so many choices out there that they don't have to take the time to do that. That's why reviews are so, they do that so much for you,
Right.
It's just like, on TripAdvisor in hotels. It's like, okay,
it is.
Here, right? Can you write a candid yay or nay? I mean, they're all not pretty, of our hotel. And it says it. It's your reputation.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say that with the networking stuff, have you found, and again, kind of approaching this from if you're a new business owner out there listening and kind of going, okay, well, that's a good idea. Something I need to do more, or spend more time on. What are some of the paths of networking that you found to be successful? Is it just LinkedIn? Are there some, the Chamber of Commerce, has that helped? Things like that? Like, what have you done to kind of find a lot of success in that?
Yeah, a lot of times, in this area, I can't say other areas or places in Colorado. Sometimes they charge you for the time you go in. So you're starting a business. It's like, okay, I've got a budget and I got to stay with it. I like to go to those that are free of charge, of course. But then I went to some that meet every week that has a representative of industries that they meet, and they do referrals. And you pay dues, and you have to attend every week, which is a more serious type of gathering for professionals, which I like, because you're committed, you're on it, you keep talking to people, and they give you referrals, and I give them referrals. So I've been to some more casual come and go networks. Then I go to some that are just really structured, and they have a time frame, and it's like, okay, one person talks, we do this, and we're out of here by 9 a.m. and we can go run our businesses. So I have gotten, a real wide experiences with networking, and I love networking because a lot of people are not liking to do it, but you got to do it. You can't sit in your office and hope somebody pings your Calendly and does an appointment, because that's not the way it goes. So
So for everyone out there who's either a business owner now or wants to be one, and you're not networking, you need to. You should have been yesterday. You should have been the day before, but if not, then by now.
Yes.
Love it. That's awesome. So I kind of also want to hear, because you have a special vantage point right now. Again, somebody who's just kind of getting into this. What are some of the things you're excited about when it comes to being a business owner that you're looking forward to, knowing that's kind of your baby now? What is that like, in this early stage of being a business owner?
Building relationships, helping people. I know that's kind of a cliche thing, but it's true.
No, it's true though.
Making my own time for myself. I've been working for people for a lot of time. I'm not a young person, so I can, set my own hours. The freedom of that. But I also have the, it's on me. I can't, so-and-so didn't do this and do that. It's on me. I am the A1 person to do it. And that excites me. I don't know why. At first I was kind of unsure. It's like, you got to be confident, and you got to have a service that people need and make sense to them. And I'm just, looking forward to that. And dealing with different kinds of people. I'm not all hospitality. I will do other small businesses as well, if people want to contact me about that. But meeting people, that's one thing I did not do. And I'm really looking forward to being part of a local community and helping that way. Community help, taking on something that's a nonprofit I could help with, volunteering, giving back to the community. I wasn't being able to do that. I was on the road. 4 days out of 5. When I came home on Thursday night, it's like, I just want to go collapse, because dealing with GMs and their problems and operations.
Oh man.
and especially when they're different states, it's like, okay, this state
Sure.
has this requirement, this state has this requirement, and all the hotels were different too.
Yep.
Some had bars, some had a restaurant, some didn't have anything, very bare bones, and all of that went on, which I loved because I had different
Right.
experiences with them. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is becoming a part of the community, contributing part of the community, and giving back to what they have given me.
That is really exciting to hear you say, because,
Mhm.
if I could pinpoint a topic that continuously comes up in each one of these episodes, yes, I know I'm the one asking the questions, so it's kind of up to me whether it comes up or not. But one thing that we actually spend a lot of time talking about
Mhm.
is community and community involvement. And what does that look like, And so, again, from your special vantage point of kind of starting out with this, you kind of touched on some things like maybe partnering with a nonprofit or something like that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
have you heard of like new ways or just ways to interact with the community, become involved with the community that maybe aren't standard, or or it's maybe emerging as this is a new way to get involved? Or have you heard anything like that, or kind of what are you thinking when it comes to that?
No, as part of the network, I am a member of a lot of Facebook groups, a lot of LinkedIn groups, and there's exposure there. Or I'll just do an all call. It's like, I've had some, experiences in my past with this or this. Is there a way I can contribute and help? And then they'll come back and do it. And I kind of like that because it's not as, putting people on the spot. People talk more if they're not in this situation. It's more comfortable to do it online than it might be face to face. So, especially some of the things are not as pleasant as others.
Right.
So
I mean, that's a good point, though. That's something I haven't heard yet. We talk a lot about making sure you meet other business owners, especially ones from the same kind of business that you run, and get involved with the community events, things like that. But nothing to the point of thinking about, some people may feel more comfortable talking about the type of support they need online versus going out there and going inside to a business and saying, hey, I have this, can you help me? Right. So maybe a really unique thing for business owners out there to try, if you haven't, like maybe you're just like, hey, I want to know who needs help, and go out there in some of these Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, and post that question and see if anything does come back, because that could be a unique way to help out that you never thought of. So
I think the thing is to admit that you need help. I know a lot of people get really down in the weeds until they say, hey, I am, like, some people I've talked to, I'm beating the bank for the payroll. Don't know where my money went.
Right.
My GM is not doing what they need to be doing. And that's another thing, I can help your GMs.
For sure.
If we want them to be successful. If they're not successful, the turnover rate or the shelf life, I always say, as a general manager in a hotel, is usually 6 months.
Really?
Without support.
Wow.
Without support.
Jeez.
Because I've had
crazy.
some, they're thrown in there, nothing, there's been no bookkeeping training, there's been no staff development training, and it's like, there you go. And then they wonder why they're not performing.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's a concept as simple as that. Like, that's something we don't talk enough about. And I think maybe in a lot of parts of our society and just culture, it's tough to stand up and ask for help, and say, this is something that I can't fix on my own, And I think maybe people feel like that's a reflection on them and their performance.
Right.
But no, if you are in this situation, like a general manager that is not getting the support, either ask for it. And if they don't provide it, I don't blame you for walking after 6 months. I'd say you're not getting the support. I wouldn't want to do that either. I wouldn't want to do it for 2 months, let alone 6.
Right. And like I said, it's a different monkey. It's a different baby. They're 24/7. Especially I'm just talking about hotels now. Restaurants, they could be as well. B&Bs, small independent hotels. B&Bs are, they might be 24/7. It depends on the ownership. Airbnb management, they're 24/7. They're online. They get books, or on the books and get booked. It's just not, we don't close the doors at 5:00 and then refocus, to do that. And that is totally different, especially if you don't have help or staff that you haven't managed well as well. So
Right.
it's just a spiral.
Oh, geez, I can imagine. I can imagine. Well, Averil, tell everybody where they can find you, contact information, and any other leaving a review for services and stuff like that. But go and let the people know.
Okay, I do have a website. It's www.barmannbookkeeping.com. I also have a Facebook page, Barmann Bookkeeping, and I believe. Do you have the number? You're going to put the number on there. 719-645-6028 is my number. If it goes to voicemail, please leave me a message. I will get back to you as soon as possible to visit with you. I also have booking agents, Calendly, on my website, on LinkedIn, and Facebook as well.
Perfect. Well, Averil, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you here and your experiences. I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Down the line, I'd love to have you back on and hear some updates
Sure.
as you go through the journey of being a business owner and talk about the triumphs and the struggles that every business owner goes through.
Sure.
And just kind of pick your brain on it. So, but thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you have a good one.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Have a good one.
Of course. Well, everyone, this is again Behind the Small Business Podcast. My name is Kevin Dandino, always brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. Make sure you check out Averil and her business if you need some bookkeeping help. And if you are a business owner yourself who would like to be on our podcast, we have an open invitation for all business owners. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll send you all the information that we'll need to gather to get you on a future episode. But thank you for listening. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Small Business. See you later, everyone.